Hello, I wanted to give you a couple of ideas to think about for the first exam and just kind of go into depth just a little bit about the test itself and the types of questions that you're going to encounter and to kind of just help you prepare. So the test is for 70 points, and you have several different sections, or several different, I guess I should say, several different types of questions on the exam. And I just kind of want to walk you through kind of what to expect, how to respond, what you can use, all of that good stuff, in just a really brief, I hope, a little brief screencast here. So I prepared a study guide for exam 1, and I'm attaching this to the week 6 module, and because that's the last unit of that's the last week of text that we read. It's only on text that we fully discussed, and then I asked you to read, so there's no surprises. Everything is there. If you've gone through the week to week and listened to the screencast and looked at the notes and read the text and made your own notes, there will be no surprises whatsoever on the exam. So I'm going to allow you to use kind of notes, or what I would suggest that you do is kind of prepare in a way kind of your responses that you want to write, and use that on the test instead of trying to do all the notes that you have kind of taken or that I've given you over the time period. So I would suggest that you make your own study guide ish with these points that I have put on here. So the first part is matching. There are 10 of these on the test, and what you're going to do is you're going to match the author to the text that we studied. Now, obviously, in ones that we read, multiple works by like Philip Freneau and Bradstreet. We read multiple poems by William Cullen Bryant. You're going to just match one text per author. So there are 10 of those on the test. There were 2 points each. There'll be a drop down where you kind of line the text up with its author on there. And so that's 10 points. That's 20 points total just on authors and text. So this should be a gimme. Make sure that you go back and look at all those authors and their texts and for that part of the test. Okay. Then there are 2 questions that are multiple choice. So the responses will be the question, and then you'll have 4 choices to choose from, and they are numbers 2 and 3 on this study guide. How does the city on the hill analogy in Winthrop's A Model of Christian Charity relate to the Massachusetts Bay Colony? And we discussed that city on a hill. I think that you wrote a response on it, or it was one of the options for a response in that first discussion week post that we did. So how does that analogy, city on the hill analogy, relate to the Massachusetts Bay Colony? What was it exactly that Winthrop planned for the Massachusetts Bay Colony to be, and how is that like the city on the hill? The second one of those multiple choice questions has to do with typography, and so you want to go back and look over your notes on typography and how to recognize it especially in poetry, especially in the poem Verses Upon the Burning of the House. So if I were to ask you which of the following is not an example of typography, and I give you several lines of that poem, or several instances from that poem, would you be able to recognize the one that does not belong? So remember that typography is the use of the biblical text, the Bible, and the Puritan religion, to relate it to events that are happening. So would you be able to recognize one that does not belong in that list of typography in Verses Upon the Burning of Our House? Okay, so 2 of those multiple choice. Then you have a couple of short answers that are a couple of sentences each. I think is probably what you want to shoot for there. So the first one is you need to go back and kind of review over the characteristics of romanticism that we talked about, and I'm pretty sure it was like week week 3, the lecture that week that we talked about romanticism, and we can kind of continue talking about romanticism, but I gave you a list of those characteristics. That was like the emphasis on nature, the supernatural, all those characteristics. And be able to identify at least one of those characteristics in one of Philip Freneau's poems. And you had a couple that you could choose from Philip Freneau. We had the wild honeysuckle, we had the Indian burial ground, you had the nature text. Hold on, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. The other one is slipping my mind. Something about nature. The religion of nature, maybe. The religion of nature was that other one that you could use to find that example. So be able to identify one of the characteristics of romanticism in one of Philip Freneau's poems. You can make your choice, and you need to be able to articulate that characteristic and evidence from the poem in writing. Okay. Number 5, be able to explain how Ichabod Crane in Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow was ultimately defeated by his imagination. That was one of the discussion board posts choices from week 5. Yes, from week 5. So when you go back and take a look at that, go back into the discussion board on any of these and see if other people have posted about, if you did not do that particular one, see if other people may have posted a response to that, and work on building your response, because he was ultimately defeated by his dentalist. I spelled that wrong. He was ultimately defeated twice over by his imagination, and one in regards to his relationship with Katrina von Tassel, and second with his defeat from Brom Bones. So how was he ultimately defeated by his imagination? And when I'm not really looking for a large response to these shorter essay, or I shouldn't even say essay, short answer kind of questions, a couple of sentences should be effective enough for you to get your point across. In Ralph Waldo Emerson's Self-Reliance, that kind of became the manifesto for the Transcendentalist movement. How is that Latin epigraph, that note quesaveris extra, how is that kind of like the overarching summation of the text? And I talked about that in the screencast on Self-Reliance and in those notes. And then in William Cullen Bryant's Thanatopsis, that's that elegy for all mankind on the subject of death. What is the connection between nature and death that he's trying to get across in the poem? And how is it meant to be a comfort? How is it meant to be, when you're thinking about death, how is it meant to be a comfort on death? Okay. So the big, each one of those are worth 5 points each. And so those are all those short answers, 5 points each, on those two multiple choice questions as well. And then this last one is the kind of the big overarching question for the exam. And I told you when I talked about Judah Sargent Murray on the equality of the sexes, to be prepared to write a significant amount on that text. So you want to make sure that you go back and read it again, read the text notes, look at the screencast and my text notes, and kind of formulate your own opinion. So the question that I'm kind of positing is this. She stated that intelligence has 4 components: imagination, reason, memory, and judgment. And according to her, women already excel in imagination and memory. Those are 2 areas where women are already, equal to, or if not better than, men in intelligence. However, and she gave lots of evidence to that fact. However, she did say that they're lacking in reason and judgment, and she gave reasons why women lacked in those 2 particular areas. So in a well-developed paragraph, I want you to be able to articulate her reasoning on this deficit. Why are women lacking in reason and in judgment at the time that she wrote it, obviously, which was a completely different time period. But we talked about that extensively in the text notes and in my screencast. I pointed those parts out in the text. So be able to articulate well developed paragraph, think CTE kind of response, why women are lacking in the areas of reason and judgment at the time period that she wrote that text. Okay, and so altogether that's 70 total points for this first exam. You'll have I'm going to set it at an hour time limit, but I don't think that you'll need anywhere close to an hour. I'm not requiring you to have a proctor for the exam. Due to circumstances obviously beyond our control, if we are going to be out of school, I'm not really sure what's going to be happening. I know that most of you, if you end up being at home, you will not have access to a proctor anyway. However, these responses, with the exception of the ones where you're matching the authors, are not really something you can cheat on. This is your words. It's not something that you can pull and copy and paste from the internet. These are your thoughts that you're articulating this evidence in your short answer and your responses. So I'm going to allow you to use your materials, but what I would do if I were you would still be to go and kind of make your own study guide based off of these points, so that you kind of have your thoughts together and you're just transferring it over to the test. Okay, if you have any questions, make sure that you contact me by email, or you can text me, and I'll be happy to answer those for you. That test is going to be on Thursday, September the Thursday, September the 30th. Okay, Thursday, September the 30th. I'm going to make it available by 10 a.m. at 10 a.m. and I'm going to cut off access to it by probably 10 p.m. because that hour kind of rolls it kind of dangerously close to the end of the day. So I want to make sure that you get it done within that window. It will be available to you to do that, and you can get online and take it at your convenience from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then I will have those graded and turned back around to you as quickly as possible. So questions, comments, concerns, make sure you contact me, and I'll talk to you soon.